Good afternoon, scholars. It's Yesterday was another phenomenal day. You guys, just every day, you never cease to impress me and Miss McKinney and your teachers. Are We're getting more and more work done, and what I'm more excited about, like I said yesterday, is the quality of the work is getting better and better and better. And all I know is I better be invited to your college graduations in, geez, that's still like 10 years out, but I'm calling it right now. You're going to have limited tickets. I want one of them. I'm calling it right now because the work that you guys are doing is you're on that path for sure. Got a much longer grit list today than we did yesterday. If your name was highlighted yesterday, but it's not today, that's because you're not new. So I'm talking to you, Sephanis and Esmer. Um, you guys have been on the grit list and you're still on the grit list, but welcome, Madeline, Jeshua, Amir, Angel H, Anthony, and Deasia. Not surprised that you're here, but I'm glad you are. Let's take a look at our work from yesterday. All right. You guys are doing such a great job in embedding evidence. It's just been really impressive to see. The first answer I stole from Monica. How did London contrast the setting from the characters in that first section we read? Monica said London contrasts the setting from the characters by using descriptive language. He describes the characters as blind with weakness, which means they are weak and broken. London describes the setting as beautiful and a joy of living. Um, you couldn't have picked more contrasting quotes or evidence, words to embed. So that was a really great choice, Monica, and really smooth the way that you worked it into your writing. He contrasts. I'm going to add an S for you, Monica. He contrasts this because Buck and his team are the negative darkness, but the setting is positive light, which are opposites. Way to bring it home. Number two, I just wanted to paraphrase in your own words. What was John Thornton's advice to Hal? Stephanus' paraphrase was he should not take chances over the ice because it can break at any moment and freeze them to death. Yes, or drown. How would you rather go? Freezing to death or drowning? I think I'd rather freeze to death. All right. Stole this third one from Kathy. I know she loves it when I call her that. How does London show that Thornton is upset by Buck being whipped? I really wanted you guys to pay attention to the characterization or the body language that he wrote in. Kathy said, London shows that Thornton is upset by seeing Buck whipped by using strong adjectives to describe his actions. Quote, compressed his lips. Thornton closed his lips to keep himself from reacting or saying something he would later regret. Driven by anger, quote, Thornton started as to speak and tried to say something, but each time regretted opening his mouth. Thornton walked up and down to keep himself from reacting a certain way or even showing emotion. Yes. Obviously, we know that he wasn't fully able to control that emotion because eventually he gets up and beats up Hal and steals his dog from him. But we know that that was obviously the right call because of what happened to Hal in the party. Why does Buck refuse to get up? Molly said Buck refuses to go because he senses danger ahead and he doesn't want to be a part of Hal's mistakes. He decides not to go with them and stay down no matter what. I love that last part, Molly. Okay. I used Amani's for number 5, and here's why. When you were asked how London foreshadows that there's better days ahead for Buck, a lot of you correctly and accurately really focused on John Thornton. And, it's clear that he's now has somebody who cares for him, who will stick up for him. And that's good. That's kind of low hanging fruit, though. I gave you this first question about the setting because I wanted to kind of start to get you thinking about the all the different moves that London did to show that there's kind of a light at the end of the tunnel that that Buck is almost out of this dark space and that things are going to get better. Imani picked up both on the new character that we meet and his actions, but she also picks up on the setting and the way that London was describing the changing season as another indicator that, hey, it's about to get better, right? So let's take a look at her work. London foreshadows the better days that are ready for Buck by describing his new owner and what his environment will be like. Buck is going into a good season where it will be a good time for him to regain his strength, and he will also have an owner that he can feel safe around, and these will all be better for Buck. Quote, the long day was a blaze of sunshine. The ghostly winter silence had given way to the great spring murmur of awakening life. This murmur arose from the land fraught with the joy of living. What a killer quote, right? She didn't just pick a quote that showed how nice the weather was. She picked a quote that shows how bad the weather was in the winter and how much better it's getting. That really helps. That's what London was trying to get across. Like things were really dark and bad, and they're about to become better and beautiful. This evidence supports that Buck will be able to live in good weather with the sun up all day, and he will be living a happy life again with the beautiful sound of the outside world because the world has awoken to the brightness. Then Buck might also wake up to feeling alive again. Oh, I got chills. Quote, John Thornton and Buck looked at each other. You poor devil, said John Thornton, and Buck licked his hand. This evidence supports that Buck is going to feel protected around John because he licks John's hands. And usually, dogs don't lick your hand when they don't have a trusting feeling towards you. Great, really good use of your outside knowledge. You just made a, a, a text to world connection, right? Um, your thinking departed from just the book, got into what Imani knows, but it helped prove her point about her thinking of the book. Um, dogs don't lick your hand when they don't have a trusting feeling towards you, and Buck will be properly treated. In conclusion, London foreshadows that life will be better for him by describing the new people around him and the new season he will experience again. Great conclusion. Way to wrap up what you just proved. Um, awesome. Let's take a preview at today's lesson. Today, we get to learn Buck's new master, John Thornton, and we examine this incredible relationship that he and Buck have. But we also start to see how deeply Buck starts to feel the call of the wild. So let's take a look at just how your questions are structured today. I ask you a kind of a bunch of just basic comprehension questions. A lot of the 2-pointers. Again, some of you are going um, are writing full on ASAC responses on these 2-point questions, which I'm not going to tell you to stop, but I'm just going to let you know it's not really necessary. What I'm looking on 2-point questions is maybe 3 to 5 sentences, just explaining what you know with some keywords embedded in there, because it's always good to practice that skill and it makes your writing stronger. Okay, so you got a bunch of 2-point questions. You get a 3-point question. What makes Thornton the ideal master? That's going to be a good one to embed evidence in. All these are good to embed evidence in. But they're simple. These aren't deep concepts that I'm asking you. The deep concepts that I ask you are the 4-point questions. And the 4-point question is going to take some more thought and it's going to take some more analysis to prove your point. Okay? So let's take a look at this ASAC response that is the last question. How does Buck demonstrate that he's become more of a wild dog than a domesticated dog? So we're going to see throughout this whole story, Buck has had masters, that he's had humans in charge. He has a new master, Thornton, that he very, very, very much loves. But Buck does a number of different things that demonstrate he's not the same old. A domesticated dog means like a house dog or a controlled dog. Buck's really starting to show that he's kind of wild, and he has maybe some more similarities with like wolves than he does with the Buck that used to live on Judge Miller's estate. So really be paying close attention throughout this section, and look for things that Buck does that really show he's becoming more of a wild dog than a domesticated dog. Here's my feedback for the day as you tackle this task. You guys are doing a great job embedding evidence. And when you embed evidence, you're looking for just really key words that fit into your own. When you're looking for ASAC evidence that are more full quotes, I want you to be on the lookout for key moments. Be on the lookout for key moments, not so much just like the magical word, okay? So when you're looking for evidence that Buck is maybe more wild than domesticated now, I want you to look for key moments where he exhibits this. Pull those moments out, and then in your analysis, you will show how Buck in that moment showed that he's more wild. You can bring it home with your analysis. All right. So that's the feedback for the day. In embedding evidence, you just look for those key words that you want to fit into your own. When you're looking for ASAC evidence, it's like the longer full quote. Look for key moments that you want to highlight. All right. We can get started together. We are reading, if you're in the book, you're on page 44 to 47. If you are in the PDF, it's on page 59 to 63. And as always, in the assignment instructions, I also have the audiobook link with what minutes you should go to for this section. All right, the first thing we're looking for is, just a warning, guys. One of John Thornton's, this book was written by a white guy in the early 1900s, an American white guy at the early 1900s. Unfortunately, that likely means that he's either a little bit racist himself, or he's comfortable with racism in ways that we wouldn't be today. Not that racism isn't alive, it's just it's not as obvious as it used to be. One of John Thornton's dog is a big black dog, and unfortunately, London chose to name him Nig. All right. I apologize, Ba. I know that if you're watching this video, you just clenched your fist and had a physical reaction. I get it, and I apologize that it's in there. Unfortunately, when you read classical literature, this nasty term and these nasty ideas, they pop up here and there, and it's there. I apologize for it, but I also don't want to censor it, because this is in the book, and it sucks, and I apologize. I apologize for that, but it's there, so I just want to give you a heads up. All right, we're on page 59, and we are thinking, why was John Thornton at that camp where we met Buck? Right, that was kind of weird that Buck's party, they just randomly, there's this dude just hanging out, whittling, off by himself. Why was he there? We're gonna find out now. Why was John Thornton at the camp where he met Buck? Chapter 6, For the Love of a Man. When John Thornton froze his feet in the previous December, his partners had made him feel comfortable and left him to get well, going on themselves up the river to get out a raft of saw logs for Dawson. He was still limping slightly at the time he rescued Buck, but with the continued warm weather, even the slight limp left him. And here, lying by the river bank through the long spring days, watching the running water, lazily listening to the songs of birds and the hum of nature, Buck slowly won back his strength. So they mention it there, guys, in right here in the first couple sentences. Why was Thornton there all by himself? So You can answer that now. Maybe embed a couple keywords in with your own description and pause me as you finish typing. And I'm going to go on to number two. Number two, how was Buck able to recover at Thornton's camp? These, like I said, these are really basic comprehension questions, guys. So they're easy to answer. So it's a good chance for you to practice embedding evidence. How was Buck able to recover at Thornton's camp? A rest comes very good after one has traveled 3,000 miles, and it must be confessed that Buck's waxed lazy as his wounds healed. His muscles swelled out, and the flesh came back to cover his bones. For that matter, they were all loafing. Buck, John Thornton, and Skeet and Nig, waiting for the raft to come that was to carry them to Dawson. Skeet was a little Irish setter who early made friends with Buck, who in a dying condition was unable to resent her advances. She had the doctor trait which some dogs possess, and as a mother cat washes her kittens, so she washed and cleaned and cleansed Buck's wounds. Regularly, each morning, after he had finished his breakfast, she performed her self-appointed task, till he came to look for her ministrations as much as he did for Thornton's. Nig, equally friendly, though less demonstrative, was a huge black dog, half bloodhound and half deerhound, with eyes that laughed in a boundless good nature. To Buck's surprise, these dogs manifested no jealousy towards him. They seemed to share the kindliness and largeness of John Thornton. As Buck grew stronger, they enticed him into all sorts of ridiculous games, in which Thornton himself could not forbear to join, and in this fashion Buck romped through his convalescence into a new existence. Love, genuine, passionate love, was his for the first time. This he had never experienced at Judge Miller's down in the sun-kissed Santa Clara Valley. With the judge's sons hunting and tramping, it had been a working partnership. With the judge's grandsons, a sort of pompous guardianship. And with the judge himself, a stately and dignified friendship. But love that was feverish and burning, that was adoration, that was madness, it had taken John Thornton to arouse. So, how was Buck able to recover at Thornton's camp? Again, really easy to answer. It's pretty basic. Just work on answering this in your own words and embedding some of those keywords from the text that you want to fit into your explanation. I'll walk you through one more. Pause me. You're obviously not done typing yet because that wasn't near enough time. So pause me, and when you're back, we'll go on to number three. All right, number three is what makes Thornton the ideal master. This one's a three-pointer, so really make sure that you explain this clearly. This man had saved his life, which was something, but further, he was the ideal master. Other men saw to the welfare of their dogs from a sense of duty and business expediency. He saw to the welfare of his as if they were his own children, because he could not help it. And he saw further. He never forgot a kindly greeting or a cheering word, and to sit down for a long time with them, gas, as he called it, was as much his delight as theirs. He had a way of taking Buck's head roughly between his hands and resting his own head upon Buck's, and of shaking him back and forth, the while calling him ill names that to Buck were love names. Buck knew no greater joy than the rough embrace and the sound of murmured oaths, and at each jerk back and forth it seemed that his heart would be shaken out of his body, so great was his ecstasy. And when released, he sprang to his feet, his mouth laughing, his eyes eloquent, his throat vibrant with unuttered sound, and in that fashion remained without movement. John Thornton would reverently exclaim, "God, you can all but speak." Buck had a trick of love expression that was akin to hurt. He would often seize Thornton's hand in his mouth and close so fiercely that the flesh bore the impress of his teeth for some time afterwards. And as Buck understood the oaths to be love words, so the man understood this feigned bite for a caress. All right, I'm going to pause there, guys. So break it down. What makes Thornton the ideal master? And you just got two more questions to go. There's a fear that Buck have when it comes to Thornton. What is it? And then your ASAC. So really start to pay attention to things that Buck does or moments that Buck shows that he's wild. He's kind of wild. That's why this book is called The Call of the Wild. There's something about it that draws certain men and certain dogs to it. How does Buck exhibit this attraction to the wild? All right, find two key moments, present them, and really break down what they show, how they prove that he's more wild than domesticated. All right, I can't reiterate enough how proud I am of most of you scholars, and I miss you guys, and I hope you're doing well. And I will see you tomorrow.